Greetings. Today's talk focuses on something that I call the Cummins Daimler Freightliner disaster relative to the Tesla Semi. There's a bunch of data that's been collected by a number of entities, including the Wall Street Journal, in partnership with Carnegie Mellon University. This suggests that the Tesla Semi represents a complete destruction of the trucking industry, and we're going to review a new aspect of that today. In addition, we're going to follow up with new news on Nikola and their trucking efforts. They're now opening up their new facility in the Phoenix, Arizona area. And then, as you know, at the end, we like to cover some health issues that often pop up that represents things that we find interesting. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Thanks once again for joining us. I can see all of you as you say hello, but the follow-on watchers have asked that we avoid doing so. So I appreciate all of you saying hello, and I'll say hello at the end of the show. Now, I have to confess, well, first of all, please like and subscribe. We could definitely use some help on Patreon if you would. $1 or $2 a month definitely makes a difference in the viability of the channel. Furthermore, I'd like to encourage you to watch this on YouTube. Our videos have been stolen by other entities and put on new channels, and we'd appreciate it if you'd watch our show on Tesla Fan Insight on YouTube. Additionally, we do have Tesla Fan Insight on Facebook, where we collect a lot of images that you won't see on this show. I wanted to, today is kind of an interesting show. One of the things we work hard to do is identify insightful elements of what's going on with the Tesla miracle and introduce those. And we typically try to avoid repeating ourselves or doing stuff that everybody else is doing because you may or may not have a competitive advantage in that arena. So today's talk focuses on something that popped up that I think is quite mind-blowing, and that is that there's a newspaper called the Wall Street Journal, and over the last 3 or 4 years or so, as I've been watching, the Wall Street Journal has worked really hard to identify any and everything that's negative about Tesla, and they've made an effort to report that information as well as they can, with the idea behind how to help destroy the company, in my mind. 1 year ago, let's call it a year and a half, in April of last year, before Tesla introduced its semi-truck, it was fascinating to me because there was an interesting analysis that was done by a engineering professor at Carnegie Mellon. And what he did was, his calculation was that in order to move 80,000 pounds, he did a calculation where he looked at the size and weight of a battery pack. And what he determined was that a truck by itself is about 35,000 pounds. This is before you put a battery in there. If you put 4 battery packs that are 81650 battery packs in that truck, there's a certain amount of weight that represents. And by the analysis of the Carnegie Mellon professor, his suggestion was that the weight of those batteries totaled out as somewhere around, the 20,000 pound range, if this is with 4 battery packs. So there is no diesel engine here. We're just talking about an electric semi that uses 4 electric battery packs that are 81650 batteries, capable of the power necessary to move a semi-truck in that range of 100-150 miles. So basically, the Carnegie Mellon professor concluded that it is definitely possible to build a truck with 4, let's say, Model X or Model S size battery packs. Again, so we have to go back here and note The Model X and Model S still use the 81650 battery packs. The Model 3 does not. It uses 2170 batteries being made by Tesla in their factory in Nevada. So what this show sort of micro focuses on is the fact that by the Carnegie Mellon analysis, with 4 battery packs inside of an 80,000 pound truck, there isn't enough carry weight left over for that truck to be viable as a long haul vehicle. So in theory, what they concluded was that if you have a truck and the truck weighs 55,000-ish pounds, call it 60,000, call it 52,000, the amount of freight that you can carry, about 20,000 pounds, is so low that it's not economically viable to put that truck on the road. So again, to review, in the United States at least, and there are some states that allow more weight, I think Canada does, there's a problem with the truck. And the problem is that for that truck to be unimpeded in movement on the US highway system that's federal, it can't weigh more than 80,000 pounds. So if you have in the engine and the back of the truck and the driver, etc., all that weight is about 35,000 pounds on a current truck. Now, if you put 4 battery packs in that sucker, that whole thing now weighs heading towards 60,000 pounds. And so the problem is that if you have to move freight and all you can move is 20,000 pounds, there is no economic reason to build that truck. And this was the conclusion of Carnegie Mellon / the Wall Street Journal as of April of 2017. So it was therefore concluded that the Tesla truck was not viable because of these numbers. Well, guess what? Once the truck came out, the Wall Street Journal did not revisit what was going on with the numbers on the semi to figure out its viability. Elon Musk has articulated that the weight of the 2170 battery with a 300-mile range is the exact same truck weight. That's truck, battery, etc., is 35,000 pounds, which means that that truck, if you subtract 35,000 pounds from 80,000 pounds, that vehicle can carry, call it 45,000 pounds worth of freight, that distance that we're talking about. So what I'm sort of angling for here is the fact that, guess what? The Tesla truck is the only viable solution that's available in the semi range for trucks right now. And this is why our show today I'm calling a complete disaster for Cummins, Daimler, and other manufacturers. The folks at Samsung have stated that they were able to already replicate the 2170 battery produced by Tesla, and they'll be able to produce that battery at scale by 2021. Currently, they're not able to do that. Nobody else is able to do it except for Tesla. So all this basically means that there's actually only one viable semi-truck that's available anywhere in the world that's viable based on how much weight it's able to carry, and that is the Tesla Semi. Will this change? Absolutely. You know, there are a lot of smart engineers at other firms, be it Daimler's actually building their own battery plant in Germany. You also have expansion or plants being built right now in Korea. The problem is that the industry standard is the 81650 battery, and this battery weighs more than Tesla. So I just wanted to sort of generally highlight this point, because the arrival of the truck anytime in 2019, starting at scale for Tesla, and then with the battery backups coming out as more batteries are being made in Nevada, I think it's a completely devastating product, because it's been concluded still that now that Tesla is at scale on the battery packs coming out of the factory, it creates an interesting problems. The problem is that Tesla can now produce battery packs for $8,500 for the Model 3 if it's only one pack. Obviously with two packs, you know, it's something in that 15K range for batteries. When it comes to the battery pack that's currently in the Model X and S, the cost of that battery pack is still $40,000 and rising because of the amount of cobalt used currently. So in essence, what I'm talking about here is the Tesla advantage in batteries means a complete disaster for Daimler-Benz. And this answers a very interesting question. Daimler-Benz, through their Freightliner subsidiary, has pointed out that there is a plan to introduce 200 test vehicles into the marketplace in the United States at the end of 2018. And the goal here is to come after Tesla. Tesla only has a completed 2 trucks, and then they have a mule currently that are being tested by customers. And the reaction has been customers are willing to pay upfront in cash on this whole thing. And by the way, this is a little bit of a sidebar note to note that once the battery pack production gets up a little bit further, I think by the end of this year, we'll be ready for trucks to be produced. The trucks don't represent a drain on Tesla's cash, because as soon as that production starts, there are a number of customers who've already purchased their initial allotment that are willing to pay for the truck before it's produced. So Tesla has the luxury of sitting there with all the cash they need in the world to produce trucks all day and not worry about waiting for payments to come in, because the product is so good that customers are willing to pay in advance, in full, to get a hold of these trucks. So, at any rate, I think this is fascinating news, because I was kind of stunned that if we go back to what's being written by the Wall Street Journal in its association with the Carnegie Mellon folks, the Wall Street Journal didn't take the time to review the fact that the truck being now produced by Daimler-Benz, their Freightliner division, and other vehicles being produced by Daimler at their subsidiaries like the Mitsubishi Fuso division, all of these solutions that are being created don't work. They do work if you want to lose money. So according to Daimler, they're charging a nominal $1,000 a month to companies using these early vehicles, but it doesn't begin to pay for the cost of those vehicles in terms of its production and getting on the streets. But Daimler was in a tough position because there are a number of customers that have already signed up with Tesla, and they at least get in the conversation to try to block the Tesla advantage before it becomes way too large. So I just find this fascinating, the extent to which the Wall Street Journal / the folks over at Carnegie Mellon are very aggressive about deciding to come out against the Tesla Semi and that it doesn't work. And then now that it's working, and it's tested to be working by a large number of customers that have put up cash already, it's amazing to me that we're not seeing a similar story being written by the Wall Street Journal describing the non-viability of all these vehicles being produced by Daimler-Benz. So the question comes up is, why is that? And the answer is that the folks at the Wall Street Journal are in cahoots with certain individuals and organizations to try to find ways, if possible, to destroy Tesla. And one of those ways is to suggest that products that Tesla's coming up with ain't gonna work. There's only one little problem with that, and that is that Tesla has given the luxury of driving the truck around so we can all take a look at it. But guess what? There are some very expensive PhD engineers from all of the big companies that work for the McKinseys and other consulting firms of the world, and they've been running tests on the trucks on a regular basis, if not tracking these trucks, because each of the buyers have to make multi-billion-dollar truck decisions in terms of buying into the infrastructure that Tesla is building for electric trucks. So I'm going to finish up our discussion. So I love when we get a chance to talk about trucks because we've made it somewhat of a cornerstone of what we like to cover. It is a follow-on fairly quickly, and this probably should have been a wait till Friday, wait till Saturday, but whenever we have something new to say that's not a repeat, that's not dribble, we like to come out fired at you guys for things to think about because I think this is powerful. Final note to make is, as we all know, Nikola has just, they've moved all their employees to Arizona. They're now hiring folks there. They're fighting for patents on the external design of their trucks. They're now introducing folks to how their fueling stations are going to look. So I guess there are some things happening with Nikola that are worth, on a sidebar note, mentioning. But I wanted you guys to sort of get a chance to visit the awesomeness of the Tesla semi-truck. And I think you have to admit, it's pretty awesome news. So basically what we're talking about today is that if in fact Daimler wants to produce a truck that goes, let's say it goes 200 miles that they're describing, that's 4 battery packs, and those 4 battery packs make that truck non-viable to carry freight. Not only that, but the battery packs are $40,000 a piece, times 4 is $160K. And that $160K is what Tesla is selling their 300-mile truck for, and they're going to make a 50% profit on that truck. So this whole situation is fascinating to me because I think as I shared earlier, Tesla could charge $200,000 for a short-range truck and a higher number for the longer range if it wanted to make more money. But it also brings up the question, how many Model 3s do you want to put out there? If this battery pack really works like we're describing, it's a gold mine for Tesla. So we're nearing the end of our usual time allotment, but I wanted to bring this up to you guys for you to think about. Jerry, I wanted to thank you for all your comments that you've put in there. I do think it's fascinating, the hard work that the Wall Street Journal has really put in there to identify the non-viability of Tesla and bring that news to the world at every opportunity. And so today I wanted to introduce our sort of truck analysis that brings up some very interesting points about what the situation is. So finally, I wanted to note, I just did my 20 leg lifts on each leg. I didn't attach my 5-pound weight, which I need to go get from the store so I can really get this process down. It was suggested by other folks that it was suggested by other folks that you could just use a can where you attach a can with rubber bands to your leg and you don't need the 5-pound weight. The idea is to give more resistance, the goal being to strengthen the quad muscles. That way it locks the knee in and you don't have knee replacement issues, etc., as you age. The next thing I wanted to mention was, Jerry, thanks for the comment regarding what's going to happen with 3 to 4 years from now and the arrival of the solid state. That's a legitimate question. The issue is it still has to get here, and they still got to build a factory, and they still got to make that thing. But in the meantime, I think Tesla could get a couple of 100,000 trucks out there, if not 1 million trucks. And if the gap isn't wide between solid state and what Tesla is doing, they can still keep making money on that front. I want to also note I'm about to take my multivitamin along with my omega-3 oils. By the way, for you, those of you in America, they have a $5 bottle of omega-3s at Walmart, which is a great deal, versus $15 for the large one at Costco and other places. I also wanted to remind you, please watch us on YouTube. Thanks, Jerry, also again for the solid state question. We have a show on the solid state battery threat to Tesla because Fisker is evidently, working on something in that capacity in terms of what they're going to come out with. The big problem I see going on for solid state that's lurking is that sometime over the next year, the Tesla battery continues to improve, but I actually think that when you go to solid state, you're talking about charging the vehicle up in that 5 to 10 minute zone to moving electricity. And so what I wanted to highlight is the fact that I believe that within the next 2 years, Tesla's cars will be charging in about 15 minutes. And so you can transition out of lithium ion into the faster charging that you might get from solid state. Perhaps they have a weight advantage as well, I don't know. But one of the weird issues that's coming up is that the more efficient you are with the lithium ion, the higher the likelihood is that solid state doesn't threaten. And according to the engineers at Tesla, or I should say Panasonic, they believe that their solid state solution is going to be delivered to the marketplace heading towards 2025 is when they'll make the transition, because they still think that there are things that can be done relative to Tesla. The only fly in the Tesla ointment is now that Toyota has teamed up with Panasonic for the next generation of batteries that's going to power electric vehicles from Toyota, how is this going to lever against what Panasonic is doing with Tesla? Are they going to violate any of those agreements that are going on? We all know that sort of Panasonic in combination with Tesla is really the dynamic duo of battery and battery producer with car producer and that battery. And so we'll see how that all plays out. At any rate, I'm really happy to get a chance to really cover some new stuff and not just regurgitate old stuff here. Look forward to any and all comments that you might have. A reminder, don't eat within 2 hours of going to bed, preferably 4 hours. Let it digest, because you get acid indigestion and potential damage to your health going forward. Again, wanted to thank all of you for joining us once again. Look forward to any and all comments. Please watch us on YouTube. Could definitely use some support on YouTube. On Patreon if possible. This is Greg for Tesla Fan Insight. Tschüss, German. Au revoir, French. Lahitraot, Hebrew. Choda Hafez, Farsi. And Farvel, Dutch. And in Jamaica, we say, enough respect, walk good. That's Donovan, watch out there, dude. Jerry, thanks for the visit. Thanks to our friends from London for visiting with us as well. And also thank all of you who didn't say hello, but that are on our channel, for your comments and hellos and likes today. Have a great day. Bye for now. And take time to like and subscribe.